Welcome to the Home League Podcast, Week 14, the last week of the regular season. We have a fantastic two-part pod for you coming this week. Part 1 today. Let's bring up that rundown. We are going to go over the week in review, as always. However, we have no guest spotlight this episode. And then our next episode, we're going to get into predictions, and our guest is going to reveal their in-depth playoff matchup or playoff predictions. If you've been following along, you know who the guest is going to be at this point. So very excited to bring you their full playoff prediction that'll include Week 14 all the way through, crowning our champion. So we'll give them a chance to let us know what they think is going to happen. Other than that, this week will be a quick episode. I'm going to go through the week in review, Week 13 results, prediction leaderboard, crowns and clowns, and our fraud watch. Let you go from there, and then later this week we will have our predictions for the playoffs and, again, champions. So let's get into it. Let's get into the results from Week 13. Pretty horrendous week from the entire league except for like two teams. A lot of heartbreaking losses. Some teams took some L's where if they had just faced anybody else, they would have won. Some teams have to be really kicking themselves, looking at the matchup that they lost to. Really just overall a putrid week of fantasy football. So let's get into our first matchup. We've got Jesse, an honorable loss, gets over that median score and loses to Glenn, whose team really is starting to, we'll say, find themselves. He's got A.J. Brown going for 2 touchdowns, 10 catches, over 100 yards. CeeDee Lamb goes for 100 yards and a touchdown, and Jamar Chase goes for over 100 yards. He's also got Brock Bowers, who gets 2 touchdowns, and Cortland Sutton in the flex for another touchdown. Matt Stafford with a little bit of a weird day, some interceptions, and Travis Etienne not getting it going, but James Cook more than enough on the ground with over 100 yards of production against Glenn's Steelers. On the other side, Jesse with a decent week, nothing too crazy. Michael Pittman continues his massive fall off this second half, but Jameson Williams and RJ Harvey continue to break out. Jalen Warren with another decent day for Jesse after the trading to acquire him, but unfortunately, again, just runs into a bit of a buzzsaw. He would have lost to only 2 other teams this week. Moving on to our next matchup, we've got Ryan and Nick. Ryan, send Nick a gift basket because he handed you a free win. Ryan wins with 61 points, scored to Nick's 51. Sam Darnold with a putrid performance, but it didn't matter because Caleb Williams didn't really capitalize on it. Chase Brown continues to do decent, over 10 points again. Traven Henderson does okay, loses a little bit of ground to Ramondre Stevenson. And our first, what I can remember, first bad JSN game goes for just 20-something yards against the Minnesota Vikings as the Seahawks defense just annihilates them. Quentin Johnston gets a touchdown. Congrats on winning that trade. Everybody else just does okay. Very average scores overall. Usually not going to be enough, but on the other side, Justin Jefferson just with a terrible day. And again, not much else going. We had a good performance from Kyron Williams, a good performance from Jacoby Myers, but the rest of the squad failed to get it going, and Nick falls to 5-8. Our third matchup, another rough loss for this team. Bill would have only lost to one other team this week, and he just happened, one other team they didn't face. So 2 teams overall. He takes the loss as Joe Burrow bounces back after being injured, gets almost 20 points. McCaffrey with a decent day. HN with another great day, over 100 yards and a touchdown. Luke McCaffrey finds the end zone, but Troy Franklin, DK Metcalf, and Taysom Hill really just kind of left a big enough gap where if Tyler had a good week, he was going to take the win, and that he did. Bijan is the RB1 for the week, I believe. Javonte Williams continues his great season. Tedero McMillan continues to surge late in the year, and then Christian Watson, who obviously, Ty gave up a good amount to get him. He comes through with a long touchdown, 4 catches, 80-something yards, and finds the end zone. Breece Hall also has a good day over in New York. So Ty pushes ahead of Bill. They had been going back and forth between who was the real median scorer, King beyond Glenn, and with that victory and that legitimate victory, Tyler takes it. Our next matchup, another one where the loser is probably kicking themselves. A really big missed opportunity here as Dan goes for 79.8 points, slides into our last team over that median score. Meanwhile, Jimmy, another disappointing day from Lamar Jackson. I believe, I've got to pull up the blunder reports. We'll do that at the end. Lamar Jackson just really struggling after coming back from injury. The Ravens overall just seem a little bit funky. Kyle Monangai goes for a great day on the ground against my Eagles. And Devonta Adams continues just to have crazy red zone efficiency in LA. But again, not enough as Rome Odunze, we'll call it Marvin Harrison Jr., Jake Ferguson, and Devonta Smith all struggle to get anything going. On the other side, Dan has just enough with Jalen Hurts, Derrick Henry putting up right around where they were projected to. And then Nico Collins also coming through with a rushing touchdown, nearly 100 yards in the air. And then a couple of other miscellaneous touchdowns from Chris Olave and Travis Kelce. So Ned's team keeps on humming, just enough to get past Jimmy this week. Our next matchup, a Monday night clincher. Drake May and Hunter Henry do just enough to clip me at 79.12. Evan finishes the week at 81.88. I have a decent day from Josh Allen. I have a good day from Trey McBride. Bashal Tutin finds the end zone, and obviously Rashee Rice with 2 touchdowns, but just not quite enough. Drake May again goes for over 20. DeAndre Swift, along with Kyle Monangai, shreds the Eagles, and Alex Pierce catches a long touchdown against Houston. Big blunder reports here. We'll get to those in a second. And then our final matchup that I'll discuss, we've got Steve capitalizing on an easy week against Brendan. Really just one of the most putrid lineups I've ever seen. George Pickens, thank you for your lucky stars there. Gets a 2-point conversion along with 88 yards in the air. He's Brendan's best performing player by quite a bit. And Brendan, I'm just going to call this out. Aaron Rodgers, terrible quarterback all year. 4 teams had QB score less than 10. And we'll get to our clowns and crowns a little bit later. But a couple of blunder reports. Let's pick them up. That's in the wrong spot. It's me. I had like 7. Terry McLaurin goes for nearly 100 yards and a touchdown. Could have played him over Rashid Shaheed. Could have played him over Tutin. And then Bam Knight gets in the end zone with about 60 yards on the ground. Could have played him over Gainwell. Could have played him over Tutin. All of them would have been enough for the win, but none of them happened. And then let me just check really quickly. I do believe that Jimmy also has a blunder, and I will throw it up there. But I'm just going to confirm that really quickly. Hopping in the phone, week 13. All right, and then what did Dak? Yeah, Dak scored 20 points, so that would have done it. So Jimmy, you're also going to get the blunder treatment. All right. Don't think that there were any others. Maybe there were, but those were the 2 ones that mattered. So moving on, those are our week 13 results. Let's get into our prediction leaderboard. We'll keep this quick. Brendan didn't make any predictions. I don't know. Everybody else did, but do you think I'm just going to not include you? No. 0 out of 6, 0 out of 6. Moving on. All right, and then not to just keep railing on our current champion, but an interesting day for clowns and crowns. Glenn takes the overall team crown with 119. Steve, that's who he is. Steve with Pat Mahomes retakes the QB crown. Ty with Bijan Robinson and Javonte Williams takes it for running back. And Glenn, obviously, we talked about his wide receivers, takes it for wide receiver. And then he also takes it for tight end and flex with Sutton and Bowers. On the other side, just like Ryan owed Nick a gift basket, Brendan sends something to Evan because he spared you from quite the screenshot of embarrassment. Brendan takes the clown for team score, QB score, running back score, and tight end and flex. Misses wide receiver by a very small margin. Again, George Pickens really coming through for Brendan, and Evan takes it for wide receivers. All right, moving on to Fraud Watch. Some interesting developments. I'm excited to see what this looks like next week to kind of look at what the final records end up being. So far, you can see Glenn sitting up at the top, both for overall record and one of the highest for median score record at 18-8. He's tied with Ty for the second highest record overall. Ty leaning a little bit more on the median score wins versus the head-to-head. Bill drops 1 below them at 17-9. He takes a double loss this week. He takes a half loss this week with a real loss, but he does get the median score win. Dan pushes up. He gets a median score win, I believe, as well, but still a pretty big gap. Sits at 500 for the median score. That's kind of one of the bigger highlights. He's probably had the most help from scheduling. Myself, I've had a little bit of help. I believe, who else has had a little bit of help? Ryan finally gets even after taking the easy win, so he was kind of owed one. He had a harder schedule based on the median record than he did for his head-to-head. So yeah, everybody's kind of looking pretty close to where they are. Not too many surprises again outside of Bill and Dan, really the big outliers there. All right, so that brings us, let's look at the median score overall. Our fourth lowest week of the year, 79.46. So again, this was a week where you didn't need a lot to win. You could, it was there for the taking. A lot of teams needing wins in the standings. A lot of teams going to be kicking themselves for not having the right lineup this week. All right, so what is going to look like? What's this next episode going to look like? I actually have no idea. I haven't seen what Jesse is going to send me. He's given me a little bit of a preview. He's sending over, again, predictions, just like we've been doing for this week. He has done it already, so Thursday Night Football will not impact what comes out of this, but it will be posted after Thursday Night Football. But again, I don't know exactly what to expect. He gave me a little bit of insight as to what he did. Once I take a look at it, we'll figure out how we put it into video. But we will have a full playoff prediction from Jesse, and then that'll be the end of the regular season. It was a great run. We'll figure out what we're doing for the playoffs for the pod, maybe some group pods, maybe some live streams. I don't know. A lot of options here. But that was our Week 13 in review, and I will see you shortly with a full playoff prediction. And just really quickly, let's go through what's happening tonight, because it's actually really, really interesting. So, Lions. I have currently, as long as Amon-Ra St. Brown is not announced to play, I have Isaac Tesla going in my flex. Dan does not have anybody on Thursday. Evan, nobody on Thursday that I can see. Bill, nothing. George Pickens goes for Brendan. Doesn't really matter, just against Glenn as he looks to get the bye, but he's got Lamb. And then the big one really is Jimmy has Gibbs and Prescott going tonight up against Steve, who's got Montgomery. Steve is out. Amon-Ra St. Brown, allegedly, presumably. But there is a chance that he does suit up as a game time decision. So some big, and then Ty has Goff going against Ryan. So some big players going tonight. It's going to be hopefully a good game. But again, we will catch you later with a full playoff prediction next episode. But for now, goodbye.